Good? Okay.
Alrighty.
So we were the love team, and for those of you that were around at Mayo, this is kind of where this all came from. What is the center of wellness from a leadership perspective, or even how we're approaching this. So when we talked about who our audience was going to be, we came up with the TLCers. The TLCers. Our book is entitled Turbocharge Your Impact, a manifesto for TLCers. And the TLCers are those that provide trust, love, and care within an organization.
Yeah, Dr.
Yes. So those are really the connectors, right? And that got to the discussion about what is a connector? What is that person? What is that unofficial leader? And how do they connect to people? So that's where we came up with TLCers.
Cool.
So we started out, like many of you, we wanted to say the coming storm, and we're going to say, yes, this is like Sharknado. It seems totally crazy, but yes, it can get this bad. And we need to address it, and we need you. So we gave them a little bit about why we need you, why you're so important. We want to honor you and honor like the superpower that you have as a connector. We go on to take it from, here's the big picture nationally, and we're going to bring it down to the you. You as a TLCer. So that gets to a lot of, we've heard a lot about this individual, like what do you bring to the table? And we talk about how you bring your best self, and that's so great. You may not realize how much you influence the people around you. Very, very cool. And so along those, we brought in our own little quote here from Mother Teresa, which I'll read on behalf of the group, which really resonated with us. Never worry about numbers. Help one person at a time, and always start with the person nearest you. So we kind of like that as had a frame where they were going with this. And so great, so you're great. Here's why we want you to do this. You're awesome, we're honoring you. But you need a little bit of information. So we called this chapter The Bigly Why. The Bigly Why. Where we've been, where we're going, and a little bit of the history, and kind of looking at that, not necessarily as a chapter, but more of infographics, a little bit easier to access. Because again, we're not going after the people that are necessarily the best and the brightest. We are looking for the true connectors within that organization. So it has to speak to them. And then, from there, we're going to turn it over to...
WTF, comma today, work the future today. And the idea here was to help people begin to imagine their future and what it would look like in a well-being environment, and then start to paint the picture for them about what was going on. We talk about engagement, the nudge effect, and creating safe environments. And one of the things to say here, we chopped this up in a different way. Instead of 10 chapters, we've got 9 short ones that could be told in 4,000 words, 2,000 words, 150 words, 12 words. The whole idea is to cascade this thing
Interesting.
from core idea out. So from Work the Future Today, which is kind of your call to action, we get to...
OMG, it's the TLCs.
We're heavy on initials.
Yes.
Yeah.
All about the
Acronyms.
catchphrases,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So here's the deal, folks. You know, what are the real factors that we need to address? And what is the burning platform? If we're really going to address this, we need people who care about this to really get to the OMGs. If we don't come from a place of caring, how are we truly going to make change? It can't just be about the numbers. And so talking a little bit about, you know, again, educating them. 1 out of 9 people don't change. I mean, so 1 out of 9 do change if they get the information, but most don't. You're that secret sauce. You're the ones that can potentially start to move that number up. And pressures have changed. Let's be honest about how difficult change is. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, this is going to be a little bit of like being a soldier and slogging through the mud. But you're the TLCers. You're the ones that can do this. And so we want to give you the knowledge and the power to be able to move all of this forward. And then understanding that you also start to be that bridge to participation. It is that, again, that secret sauce, which gets to the real beginning. And we entitled this, would you pronounce this?
Cincinnati.
What?
What?
So do you know what that is?
Cicineg?
Cicineg?
Genesis spelled backwards.
Oh,
The real beginning.
The real beginning. So why did we do this, right?
wow.
So we started out with the stat around 1 in 4 people.
There's an interesting book that's in here.
So we got to the 1 in 4, and we started with that. We started with the social connection piece, and we worked backwards to those 6 pieces, right? We always start with the know your numbers piece. That's where we've been. But maybe the real answer, TLCers, is that we've got to make this social connection first. And as we work through this, that's when this stuff becomes more important to people, because we started with caring in the first place. And so it gets to the discussion of moving from profit to people. It's the people, right? It's not just how are we ever going to have profits if we don't care about the people. And so talking a little bit about how important this, all the barriers that we have to social connection. But again, if you're starting with your TLCers, if you're starting with the people that already know how to do this, you're going to be able to move this faster, much, much faster in an organization. But we also want to provide them with some real inspiration. And so this got to the who are the outliers. So TLCers, it's great. Well, you've been in your own little world. This is kind of hard. Are there companies out there that we can share with you? It doesn't mean that you're going to do it this way necessarily, but at least some ideas about, ooh, maybe it'll spark something new that you can do there. So we actually wrote out very specific companies. Steptoe Johnson, anybody familiar with them as a law firm?
You told me about it.
Right. So they went from, and you know, law firms don't have a great reputation. You know, as places to work, people get burnt out. Steptoe and Johnson, and I, full disclosure, I actually worked with them a long time ago when I was at National Financial Partners. Went from a horrible environment to now being recognized as one of the best places to work in Washington, D.C., which is really interesting. So that's one. This is law. The Breakers Hotel in California, we wanted to get very specific. Hospitality. They've done an amazing culture change. And the dollar piece of this is they went from 75% turnover annually down to 17%. Yeah, there's real money attached to this. We wanted to touch on small businesses, right? We always talk about big organizations. So SIG is, they have about 50 employees. They are in Baltimore, and this is a benefits broker. Again, not exactly an industry that has a great reputation. One of the best places to work in Baltimore. The CEO is a true visionary. And so, again, some more inspiration. Yes, we did put in GoDaddy. And I'm personally pushed for this because of the salary parity that their CEO did for all the women, which is very, very unusual in a technology company. And I think that really shows leadership and wellness from a very different perspective. We honor all our employees. And that gets to more of the diversity question. And last but not least, I know many of you have heard me talk about this over and over and over again, but I can't help but not put her up here because she has been a leader, a thought leader in this area for years and years and years. And fashion, another industry that has a terrible reputation. They have virtually no turnover. And I know the wellness director. I also happen to know one of their designer pattern makers. So, and I've been on site multiple times. So it's amazing. We want to make sure that our TLCers know this is possible, and here are some models. You know, and it isn't just industry specific. We strongly believe that the secret sauce for our TLCers is to get educated in mindfulness. To teach them all those skills, because at the end of the day, mindfulness is about listening skills and understanding and empathy. And so the more we can tap into that, which was probably already their innate strength, we're now honoring that and maybe giving them a higher skill level to go out and now use this within their organization. And so we did want to make sure that we honored Ellen Langer and John Kabat-Zinn. So again, for all of you mindfulness people, you know those are probably the two pioneers. And then giving them just, this is where we use this, we called it TLC leadership versus mindfulness leadership. And then because we are the love group, we had to end with.
Well, leadership, as we all acknowledge, is the start of culture. Leaders create cultures, cultures create the next generation of leaders. And if you're a TLCer and you don't have a formal title, you can still operate a leadership approach that is conducive to accomplishing all this. And the obvious leadership approach would be one that recognizes people as human beings who are striving to be their best version of themselves, right? Philosophically, that's called teleological.
Yeah, he's gonna do it.
Yep. Yep. I'm going to use the word too. Aristotle called it eudaimonia. We call it flourishing. Human beings, I have to get it in. I wanted that to be the title of the book, and they shot
We said no.
But as a virtues-based leader, by definition, and I won't bore you with all the details of the model, but a virtues-based leader starts with that premise that, the positive psychology movement is huge, right? And it calls human beings heliotropic. We naturally tend toward delight. That's just wired into us. So if you facilitate people being the best version of themselves, if you enact methodologies and a leadership point of view that people start to recognize, you're just trying to help me be the best version of myself, what do you think their response is going to be? Right? I mean, it's also baked into us to return in kind and to have a kind of this transaction of, you're treating me with such care and concern, of course I'm going to give you discretionary effort. Of course I'm going to engage with you. I'm going to want to, right? And so it builds for TLCers who are trying to, they naturally tend to try to help people. This brings people back to them. And you get the cycle of love.
Excellent.
And yes, we're gonna do a workbook
Oh, okay, all
That'll
right.
cost you extra.
And seminars and workshops?
and seminars with it.
Okay, let's give them a